Good afternoon, and everyone, and welcome inside Lakeshore Curling Club, located in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia, for the 2018 AMJ Campbell, Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Curling Championship. I'm Vince Williams, and joining me my broadcast partner, Bill Fletcher. This afternoon's game on Sheet C sees an elimination game between the number 2 ranked club, Team Moore, versus the number 6 ranked club, Team Notting. So it's the end of the road for one of these teams, and this means precious shot making and flawless decision making by both skips will be very key. So let's meet the teams real quick here. For Team Moore, the first lead is Kate Fitzgerald, the second, Cassidy Curry, the third, Taylor Stevens, and the skip, Callie Moore. And for Team Notting, the lead would be Carrie Wellman, the second, Alexis Chasson, the third, Caitlin Notting, and the skip, Kaylee Notting. So both of these teams in an elimination situation, Bill, and it's pressure time. Shot making has to be pristine today.
We've been there. We've been there time and time again. And when you play in these types of events, that now what's coming down is they're taking a look at their mental toughness and their physical toughness. How well does, how much does fatigue set in terms of their execution? I mean, they're all well schooled. They spent a lot of time to get ready for this, right?
So you have a team in Team Notting who's came into this tournament as a dark horse. They're here in an elimination situation. They've done some good things, and they've surprised most of some of these teams, and now they're here, and a few more games here they could be looking at taking on the number 1 team in Club Jones.
Yeah, they've played well. They've put some big points up, and no doubt about it, as you start getting those high ends and scoring a lot, is sometimes that's the best defense is a good offense. So I anticipate that you're not going to see a lot of big scores in here, because for both teams, they know what the pressure is. They know what's at stake.
Carrie Wellman, their first stone. Good hit and roll. Rolls it near the button there. So as the lead, just builds it to the viewers at home. Talk a little bit about the strategy and the lead and what their first 2 zones and how important is it to setting up the game.
Well, with the free guard zone, it's so important to be able to get rocks out in front, to be able to keep things in there and control certain zones in the house or just out in front of the house. You need something to draw around behind if you don't have the hammer. If you do have the hammer, you want to keep it clean. You're counting on your skip to be able to come down and put it in the rings. That's why it's so important to have that hammer. And it also depends too on your timing. So having that free guard zone, so important. Placing the rocks out in front, give me something to hide behind. The game breaks down into different parts. They're going to find out what the ice is doing. Sometimes they're going to be defensive. Sometimes they're going to be a bit more aggressive. So, putting the rocks in the house, go up there and hit it. And what will happen is it depends on the other team of whether they want to play offensively or whether they want to play defensively. But they're trying to find their way now.
It's a little bit of a chess match going on in the first few stones.
On the slippery surface.
Absolutely. Alexis Chasson from Team Notting there, putting her stone in the house. And now the second for Team Moore, Cassidy Curry. Good hit, roll. So the chess match continues, both teams feeling each other out, just to see which strategy they're going to play early in this first end. Jason's second stone on its way. And what do you make of that decision?
Yeah. Do you want to put it in the house and have somebody hit? What you're trying to do is you wait for the mistake from the other team.
Right.
With that rock going through, Callie's going to put one over on the wings. Most of the game is played, within that 8 foot. And so lots of times you try to find out where the opposition's weak spot is. Most teams don't practice out in the 12. It's not curled on very often, right? So all of a sudden, how do we set this up? So we're working hard trying to get it to the rings. Doesn't get to the rings, then at least got something on the corner.
Yeah. And that was Cassidy Curry's second stone. Both of these teams, a few wins along the way. As we see the first stone here by the third, Caitlin Notting.
So that Yellowstone from Callie's team can be used at a later time,
right?
Because it at least protects some part of the house. Now take away that advantage is you throw one in the middle and say hit it,
right?
But it's always one of those things when you got the hammer, try to establish a point on the side, give yourself an opportunity. If there's a miss, to be able to score your two.
Taylor Stevens, first stone. And a hit and roll. So now what would be the strategy now for Team Notting?
Depending on what Notting wants to do, because they don't have the hammer. And so as a result, what happens is you put one up just in front of the tee line and say, go ahead, hit it.
Force them.
Yeah. You're either going to force them or you can take a look at a blank.
Right.
One of the things that I've always stressed on my teams is, listen, we only need to score on the even ends. So I like that. That means if you got the hammer on the even ends, then you got the hammer in the 10th, which now allows you to control. All right. So Callie has a choice of what to do. She can either take that off and blank or get aggressive and draw around one. What they want to do is make sure they keep in front of the tee.
Stevens, second stone here.
Sweepers think it's got enough weight. They're backed off.
And it just rolls through the house. So, opportunity now.
That's one of the things we talked about is if we get a miss, how can we take advantage of it?
And the skip. Kaylee Notting, their first stone. Just coming around. Get by that guard there. Ziva has enough weight to stay in the house. And that's not a bad shot.
No. I had the stopwatch on that when I had 15.6. Now I talk about from hog to hog, that was at 15.6, and where they ended up was in the back 8.
And what's usually the best time from hog line?
Well, it depends.
In this scenario and situation.
In this scenario, they're probably looking at close to 16 seconds between hog to hog.
So now the skip, Kaylee Moore. What do you think she's going to do?
She's going to come down and draw down in front of it. We're going to try to force them.
Team Moore has the hammer on this end. Hoping for the right weight. Sticks it just inside there.
Yep.
Not a bad shot.
Not a bad shot.
Almost the right weight, almost got it around Team Notting's guard and even set themselves up even further. So second shot here from the skip, Kaylee Notting.
One of the things you get into is replacement of your rocks, and that's so important. Because if this rock isn't placed correctly, Callie's looking at scoring a deuce.
Here it comes. Lots of communication from the skip. Not sure about the weight. Really aggressive on it now.
That's 16.
Trying to place it close to the button as possible. It's not a bad shot.
It all depends on how much they're going to be able to see of that, because this opens it up.
You can see there a little bit of daylight around that guard for Moore. I think she goes for the hit and stick.
If she throws too much weight, she's going to end up hitting it and rolling out. But if she throws it with a bit of a down weight with just back line, she could hit that, angle it out, and sit her too. So it all depends on her weight.
And here it comes. Callie Moore with the hammer.
Okay.
Likes the weight so far. Oh. Hits, rolls, sticks one.
Sticks one.
So not a bad shot with the hammer there from Moore.
Well, Notting forced them to score on that. So giving up one to get the hammer is not a bad prospect.
Not a bad prospect in the first end.
Yeah.
So after the first end, Team Moore with the lead, sticking that one in the house. So we head to the second end. Team Notting has the hammer. First stone for Kate Fitzgerald.
They're sweeping it hard to get it in the ring, so we expect to see some more hitting.
Right. So, Team Moore forcing the younger club in Notting to play some good shots. Carrie Wellman's first stone. Hits and clears the house. So would that be one of the strategies, Bill, for, even though you have more experience, well, not experience as an age group with more, going up against a younger skip and Callie Notting and force him to play more shots?
I don't know whether there's so much of a difference in the age, because I've seen the Notting team for a while, and on previous teams I've had to coach against Scotty. I used to Scott Notting's teams, and you know, you've seen those kids grow up over time. So they're all well versed. They're all well prepared. They have plans that they want to execute. So when you're going out here, what you don't want is surprises. And so as a result, in the first couple of events, you're really trying to find out what the ice is going to do. It may be a while since they've played on this ice, and you know, the stones have different characteristics with them, and depending on whether they have a rock book for them or not. So what happens is we'll play these clean. We'll find out what's going on, and look at the later ends, and we'll start playing the game. One of the teams will have to figure out when they're going to get aggressive. Right now, when they're going up and down the ice, we'll play some hits, find out what's happening, get the feel for the stones. We play hits, we play rolls, move things around. Don't give the other team the same shot twice.
Good hit and stick there by Cassidy Curry. And as you mentioned, the Notting rink, coached by Scott Notting from the Bridgewater Curling Club. And the Moore Club, coached by Rob Moore, CFB Halifax Curling Club out of Halifax. Second shot coming down, and a burnt stone there right through the house, and not the execution Alexis Chasson was looking for.
No.
And with one of those shots on the edge of the house, more of the difficult shots.
They tend to be. They tend to be a lot more difficult when you get out there, because most of our game is played within that 4-foot range.
Cassidy Curry now with an opportunity for her team. We'll put up a guard here, trying to keep it. It goes. So now, would that be an opening for Notting? After that opportunity, I mean, they rolled a little.
Well, it could be.
Depending on.
They're not set up to give them a double, so we can play the hit game. See, it all depends on what you want to force the other team to do. It could be that they want to play the hit game, so they play up weight. Some teams like to play with a lot of rocks in play, and so as a result, you get different strategies. And you know, how well do we do if there's rocks in play? Some teams hate to have that. Other teams don't panic when there's rocks in play. You know, if they're a draw team, if that's where their strength is, then what they'll do is they'll play towards that.
Taylor Stevens. First stone on its way in this end.
She keeps on tapping the ice that she wants it in, so she wants it in the rings to let them hit.
Right. That's a pretty good shot there.
Yeah. One of the issues you get is if you bring those rocks too close together, then it's a lot easier for you to double rocks out.
Caitlin Notting stone.
It's understanding about hitting a round object with another round object.
The science of the game.
Yeah.
And straight through the house, so now we got a really interesting situation going on now in the second end. Decision time for Skip Callie Moore. And
one of the things I always talk about with my team is that good enough to score? If it is, then you start throwing up the guards and protecting it.
with the placement of the stones here, is there an opportunity to steal here?
Oh, definitely, because you're in the 4 foot. It's the reason we talk about is that good enough to score, and how are we going to deal with it?
Taylor Stevens, second stone on its way, trying to put up that guard. And that's a pretty good shot.
You couldn't go down and place it any better. So now the choice is, you can either draw around or you play the run back. These teams don't hesitate. They just go up, run it back in there, and see what we can get off.
Right. And which would be the more high percentage play at this level? Or is there such a thing?
At this level, that's hard to say, because they could draw around and get corner freezes and use that, whereas the hit's going to clear it out, and you try to force the other team to put up a good guard again.
So a miss there. And things look even better now for Team Moore. As the skip will throw her first stone. That's Callie Moore. Team Notting with the hammer in the second end. 1-0 Team Moore. And here it comes. Callie likes to wait.
Okay. Little deep for a guard. The one disadvantage that you get into is when you bring rocks too close together like that, that starts to become an easy to double them up.
Double it up. Probably wanted that a couple feet outside the house. Moore did. Now the skip for Team Notting. Kaylee Notting here. Her first stone.
The biggest thing is to be able to drive it back and get rid of that stone that's biting in the 4 foot. You have to open up your scoring area for you. If she gets forced to score, then you need the bigger scoring area. It's just easier.
Asking for it. Looking for the shot. Hit. That's Yellowstone stays in the house.
Maybe in the house, but at least it's moved off the 4 foot, so that when Kaylee has to come up with her shot, she's going to have an opportunity to be able to, there's just more scoring area in the house.
So lengthy conversation here between Cassidy Curry, the second, and the skip, Callie Moore, where they're going to go with this last shot. That stone that is for Team Moore. Team Notting has the hammer in the second end.
It's hard to tell from looking at the screen whether Callie's sitting 1-2 or whether they're sitting 1-3. And so if you want to force the Notting team to 1, all you need to do is just bring another one in anywhere in the 8 foot. That will not allow the rocks to be doubled out.
Looks that way. Looks like that's the way she's playing it. Bringing it a little bit wide here to the left. Trying to get it to curl back in. Keep it inside the house. It's curling back here. Just around. A little bit of a rub. But it stays in.
Okay. And so what happens now is if you take a look for the nodding team, is they've got to draw.
Got to draw to the button. Get it close within side that yellow stone that's sitting closest to the button there. Now here's the precision shot making comes into play early here. Didn't take long.
No.
The second end. It's Team Moore seems to be their strategy early is force Team Nottingham some good shot.
That's pretty standard. When you're playing with the hammer, you want to play for your deuce. If you, the other side of it is you can force the other team to one. If you don't have the hammer, well, right now is the Moore team sitting 1-2. This is their choice.
Here comes Callie's stone.
And see, she can't throw to backing.
Sneaks it inside, and that's a nice shot.
Bite of the button will do.
And that's a pretty impressive shot there by the skip, Callie Notting. As it looked like things got a little dire there between the lead, and the second, where there was a little bit of an opening, cracking of an opening there to steal that in by Team Moore. But good shot making from the third and their skip. The later part of that end was able to salvage that end for Team Notting. Give up the one though. Get the one, excuse me. We're all tied up here. So the hammer will go over to Team Moore in this third end. First stone coming. Carrie Wellman.
Well, we'll see whether they keep it in the free guard zone or whether they bring it into the rings. That answers that.
That seems to be the strategy.
Yeah.
First stone coming from Kate Fitzgerald. Now, these two teams met each other. Their first matches, that is, and Team Notting getting the victory, 11-9. So how much of the previous game is in the minds of these two teams, or does it even make a difference?
I don't feel that makes that much of a difference, but some teams always have that feeling that some teams have a certain team's number. And they go like, doesn't matter what you do, then these are the things that happen. And this is not the first time that these teams have played against each other, because when you go out and you do spieling, you travel all over the place to go spieling.
Right.
There's a circuit around that hosts spiels. You go to PEI,
Right.
you go to New Brunswick. Moncton is for sure one of the places that you always hit. Oak Island down in Chester. Is these to be, you'll run into these teams at these various events. And so as a result, they've probably played each other quite a few times over the last couple of years. Plus, both these teams are involved in the Canada game playdowns.
Right.
And they would have had to play nose to nose.
They're very familiar with each other.
They're very familiar with each other. And it's one of those things that, like, I've been involved in the curling community for such a long time, and one of the things I've always been amazed about is you'd see these teams go out and play nose to nose and bloody each other's nose, and then they're friends. And they come off the ice and you go like, oh my gosh. And I've seen a lot of friendships that have developed over the years. It's a big community, but it's a small community as well. And what happens is when you start knowing the people that are in that community, you are friends off the ice.
Right.
Earlier today, you had Selena Thompson, and I coached both of her brothers. I was to the Optimist Spiel in Winnipeg with both of her brothers, and you go like, now they end up playing against each other. Right, but that's one of the things that happens, and as juniors, they may end up going and playing against each other constantly. And lo and behold, once they start to work, and all of a sudden they're curling with the same people they used to go nose to nose with. So teams change around, so sometimes you'll be on somebody's team, and then sometimes you're not. So you get to know the people that are in the community, and I've had quite a few teams that that I've coached and have coached against other coaches, and there aren't too many clubs around this province that when I walk in, it's not like Old Home Week.
Right. So right through the house there is the second stone by Alexis Chason. Excuse me, that was the first stone by Alexis Chason, and here comes the second for Cassidy Curry. Looking to place the guard here at the top of the...
See, so Callie's got one behind that corner guard.
Yeah.
They're putting it over entirely on the other side of the sheet, trying to keep the separation.
That's a pretty good shot.
Now, Kaylee, on the other hand, is going to want to hit that and roll over towards the other yellow rock, so you have a closer grouping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, double it out, you'd have to throw like Kevin Martin.
I'm not sure.
You'd
we're going to. No disrespect. You're not going to see any of that.
No, you're going to have to throw it overhand. So the biggest thing is to be able to hit that and roll back towards that center to bring the rocks closer together.
Good hit and stick there, though, by Caitlin Notting, the third for Team Notting. Team Moore with the hammer in this third end. We're all tied up, one apiece. It's an elimination game between these two clubs. First stone coming from Taylor Stevens. Good shot there by Stevens. Yeah. And what do you usually look for from your second and your third when it comes to setting up those last few shots?
I know when I'm a skip, my favorite shot is to be able to guard a guard, which means that my mate's making all the shots and I don't have to. But on the other hand, what happens is you've got to have some flexibility in terms of what the abilities of those individuals are.
Good hit and roll though, okay. Close to the button.
Okay, but you notice how that roll went back towards that center. Because each time that you hit that rock in your stock, the angle was better for you to be able to hit and roll over towards that other yellow rock. So what they're wanting to do is hit that rock and move away from from their other rock that's hidden behind the corner guard.
Second stone coming here from Taylor Stevens. Looking for more weight. Not bad.
There it goes.
Not bad. Probably didn't get the roll that they wanted, but nevertheless, a little bit of separation there. Second stone coming now from Caitlin Noddy. She might have screwed up the order. I think that's Kaylee Noddy. Skip with her first stone. And here it comes. Good hit and stick there.
Yep. And again, Callie's going to, in this situation, wants to hit it and roll away from the center, but keeping it in either solidly in the 8 foot or in the 12, right, to keep a lot more rock separation.
More with the hammer on this third end. Getting set to throw her first stone. Really asking for it. And just inside the 12 foot there. So what do you make of that shot?
Okay. What happens now is you've got rocks that are over there on that corner. You got the corner guard, which allows the nodding team to come down, and they've got backing here in the corner. And that will set them up in front, so you have a jam possibility. That's why it was so important to keep separation on those two rocks. By moving your rocks closer together, it makes the doubles a lot easier. So she can hit and stick. She could hit it on the side, and peel everything out.
Big moment in the match coming up right here. Nodding with her last stone. Hits. Rolls towards the button. And stays within the 8 foot. So.
What that does is allows, remember how we talked about setting up for your deuce? Now that they're playing for the open hit, if they hit and roll out, we get one. But if she comes down and gets it on the nose, now she's worked hard for the deuce. Kaylee's rock had have been a little bit more. He's hit it at a lighter angle. Then what happens is they could have doubled out both of the yellows, so they got sort of in between those two shots.
So slight opening here. We'll take two in this end for more. Here comes the hammer. Hits, stays in, that's a 2.
There's the 2.
So good end there for Team Moore as they take 2. in the third end, and they take a 3-1 lead heading to the fourth. Some pretty good strategy towards the end of that end for Team Moore. Probably not the shot making that they were looking for from Team Notting.
Well, in lots of cases, what happens is it's not so much the shot you make, but the shot that you leave. And by bringing those rocks, by hitting that one rock and bringing those two rocks closer to each other, you set up an opportunity for your rocks to be doubled out.
Start of the fourth end here. Kate Fitzgerald with her first row. A little heavy.
Yeah, it's got the rings all on its own.
Not sure if we're looking, not sure if we're you as a coach and being involved in this game in a very long time. How important is it for that lead to set up that guard, or if they're even playing the guard? Because it seems like,
well, a lot depends on what their strategy is. And
does it look like it may be a mistake to put it in the house, or is it just that they're just trying to get their weight down?
There is those schools of thought that says, look, I'll put it into the rings, hit it. If you miss it, then I'll put my guard up.
It's better than going through the house.
Yeah. So it all depends on what you want to do in terms of setting up your end. Is that one good enough to score? Probably. But let's take a look at what the opposition does, and what happens is Kaylee's team put it in the rings, so it could take away that advantage. So you get the Moore team to come down and hit. If they hit and they stick, then I've still got that one on the center line I can hit.
Second stone coming here from Kate Fitzgerald. Hits the stick.
It's that chess game. So if you take a look at it now, is you want to hit that rock that's on the center line and roll over in front of that one that's out there on the edge of the 8.
Alexis Chason, the second, their first stone in this fourth end. Team Notting trailing 3-1, but with the hammer on in this end. Hits and rolls all the way out of the house. Cassidy Curry now with her second stone. Let's see where she's trying to set up this end here. And here it comes.
Yeah, she's playing for top 8. So Callie's calling for line and the sweepers are calling for the weight. Where do we want it to be? Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Not a bad shot. Just on the edge of the 12-foot there. Jason's shot coming. Really encouraging here. Hits and rolls. Both of them out of the house here, so now sets up an opportunity.
Yeah, it sets up an opportunity for Callie.
Second stone from Curry here. Really looking to get this one closest to the button around that guard. curling. It's coming. Just around that guard. Pretty good shot. A little bit of a crack of an open though around that guard though, but it's a pretty good shot though.
They can see an edge. I put the stopwatch on that one. That was 15:25, and that stopped dead on the tee line. So those are close enough that what they're going to do is they're going to run the top yellow one right straight back.
Stevens now looking for that run back. Hits, misses. Usually what's the result when you're looking for that run back? You're looking for it to hit in a particular area of the stone that needs to be for it to run directly back. In that case, it obviously hit it on the
Hitting
angle.
it right smack on the nose is really what you're looking at.
That's a difficult shot at this level.
No, they've all thrown a lot of the rocks, so it just depends on that line and weight. My philosophy with my teams is always improve our situation. What wouldn't be an acceptable outcome is if they completely flashed the guard. And we didn't improve our situation at all. The fact is at least we got that guard, we ran it back, and so it opens things up.
And that's an excellent shot there by Taylor Stevens.
So here what happens is, if they come down, if they're going to take the shot rock out, an unacceptable outcome is a complete miss. Whereas if they take the guard off, then what happens is, we didn't get that hit, but at least it improved our situation.
Caitlin Noddings, stone coming, gets the hit, rolls out of the house though. So at this moment, would Team Moore be looking to get a little bit greedy and steal?
Yep. Yeah, they've got the center line guard up or close to a center line. What happens is see if we can sneak one around and force the issue.
Stevens' second stone coming.
So I got that at 15.14.
Not a bad shot there by Stevens. She's come up with two outstanding shots in this end. From Taylor Stevens, the third for Team Moore. Can't do much better than that from Stevens.
Nope.
Lots of communication now from Team Notting. They have the hammer here in the fourth. Second stone coming. Caitlin Notting.
It had to pick.
That goes right through the house. So an third stone there, an opportunity for Team Moore. Now, where are the strategies going to go there, Bill?
They need to take away some of that center line. The question you ask is that one that's in the 4 foot, is that good enough to score? We're cutting down the scoring zone for them. And so as a result, what happens is if you put one on that center line that takes away an open access to the button, then they'll do the job.
Skip now, Callie Moore with their first stone. In this fourth end, they lead 3-1. But the hammer belongs to Team Notting.
Callie actually spared for one of my teams at one time. She always used to hang around the curling club, tracing after her older brother, and we were down a player, and Callie come out and played for us. She was absolutely in awe. The fact that she got to play with some of the older curlers, now she's come into her own.
That's a good shot there by Moore.
Okay.
Laying two around the tee line there. So now it's up to Callie Notting to match those shots. She has the hammer. Doesn't look happy with the shot. Hits and sticks though. Not bad. Halfway down, she looked kind of discouraged. Quick conversation between her and her sister.
So the Moore team's trying to look at taking the blue one out, over on top of the other yellow shot rock, and cutting down on the scoring zone for the Notting team.
Degree of difficulty in this shot, Bill, in this pressure situation. Get your skip up, get the right person to throw it.
Usually your skips are some of your more consistent throwers. The problem is the level of difficulty. One of the things that we've always done with statistics is looked at, your front, your lead and second have the higher shooting percentages, and your skip and your mate have got lower because the degrees of difficulty are always a lot higher. So here's their situation now: is if the Notting team hits the top yellow, they're not going to score. Whereas if the other one, they have to make sure they get enough curls, so they roll slightly to the inside, so that they can score on the 4-foot. So this is one of those things that's going to be the line of delivery, and it's going to have to deal with the weight, because they're going to need some curl. Because if they just come down and hit it on the nose, I don't think they're going to score.
Pivotal moment in this match, heading to the fifth end, Notting with the hammer. Team Moore leading 3-1, looking for the steal in this end. Really asking for it. Here it comes. Hits. Not enough, though. That'll stay within the 12-foot, and a steal of two.
Steal of two.
So now things really get interesting for Team Notting. You're down 4, heading to the fifth end. The opposition has the hammer.
You'll probably see a lot more rocks in play.
So Team Moore stealing 2 on that end, and they are really in the now. This is an elimination game between these two teams. The winner goes on, the loser goes home.
Yep.
First shot coming from Kate Fitzgerald in this fifth end. It's not a bad start. It seems to be consistent in what's happening from the leads.
Consistent in everything that they've been doing all along. So put it into the rings and let them hit it.
Gary Wellman's first.
And so what's the Notting team do? Is they put up the corner guard, ignoring the one that's in the rings.
Not bad weight there. Good shot there by Wellman.
It's one of those things that when you start looking at is that standard strategy is if you've got the hammer, you want to establish a point on the side, and then we can play the game in the middle. So once we've got a point established. So the fact that the Moore team put one that's up in the middle, we completely ignored it, put up the corner guard. That way, if they don't protect it well enough, I can hit the one that's in the rings and roll over behind that corner guard to establish a point over on the side.
And Wellman's Fitzgerald's second shot, a little bit heavy. So if you're Team Notting, you're not looking to get one.
Here's the call. No, here's the call to go around. So we've got a corner guard, draw around it, establish something over on the side.
Wellman's second shot coming. She likes to wait. It's coming around. And just too much weight there.
Too much weight. It is, however, going to be it could be a catcher later on in the end. In other words, it could keep a rock in play that would normally go out.
Cassidy Curry's first stone. That's through the house. So how important was that shot for Team Notting?
Well, that was protecting them up on the corners, and that's what they tried to establish. So that's the reason they're going back to put up a corner guard again, just to replace the guard.
First stone here from Jason. Team Notting trailing 5-1 in the fifth end. They have the hammer though. They need multiple points in this end.
So the Moore team steps up and doesn't want those things out in front, so let's clear them.
Curry's second stone on its way. They like to wait. Mission accomplished.
Continue to try to put up the corner guard until they get a miss, and then try to go around it.
Alexis Chason's second coming. A little heavy.
Do you remember how I mentioned to you earlier about that stone that was back there?
It's coming into play.
That's the only thing that saved it.
Just on the edge at the 12 foot.
Yeah.
First stone coming with Taylor Stevens. Had some outstanding throws in the fourth end. Looking to carry over in the fifth, and that's a good shot there. Nice hit and roll. Almost got around the guard there. Good shot there by Stevens. You know, in between the fifth and sixth end, we're going to be time for both teams to talk some strategy. How important is it for Team Notting to salvage some points here with the hammer? I mean, it'll be close to 5 minutes the break will be for them to get an opportunity to talk things over in the first 5 ends.
They'll
the psyche and the mindset, just to where their heads at right now. How important is it for them?
They'll get into the discussions of what they need to do, and what happens is to be positive in terms of the things that happen, knowing about the things that you can control, the things that you can't control. You know, and that when we're looking at this, where's my execution?
Right.
What are we trying to do? What are we trying to accomplish? What are the tactics that we need to use? I always use some of Brian Rafus's philosophies that says that, look, if we're ahead, we're hit. If we're behind, we're going to.
Right.
And that's just part of that game. So traditionally, when you look at it, it says we break the game down into different segments. Is in the first part of the game, we find out what the ice is doing. The second part of the game is we will play the game. Part of it is now we've got to position ourselves for what's happening on the scoreboard. So the scoreboard will really dictate what you need to do.
Taylor Stevens, second stone coming.
Right. So if the Moore is just trying to force, then what happens is they can group rocks together and allow the Notting team to be able to draw in 4-1.
Right.
Whereas if they really wanted to get aggressive, they could end up setting up that how do we steal? And it appears that while we're leaving the 4 foot open, you know what, the Notting team wants to draw it at the end, then what happens is we're going to be coming home, and you know the score is going to be 5-2. We've got 5 ends to play.
Yeah. Conceding that 1 point. Yeah. We'll give you 1, but nothing more.
Yeah.
That's how they're really looks like they're playing it right now. Good shot there by Caitlin Notting.
So as long as they come down and hit this one blue rock that's back there, is all they're going to do is allow them 1 point.
But the shot still has to be made.
It forces them, and we get the hammer back starting in the 6th end, and we want the hammer on the even ends.
Absolutely. So you can see
it's game control.
Definitely, you can see which team is, very comfortable right now. The discussions between both sides are very vastly different. A lot of high fives from Team Moore, and a lot of discussions about strategy on the side of Team Notting. And that is reflective in the score right now. They are trailing by 4, but they have the hammer in the 5th. And this is the first shot from the skip, Callie Moore. Her first stone, here it comes. Hit and stick. So you can really see the slight separation, Bill, between the 3rd and the skip stones on these two teams.
Yep.
Pretty much even and consistent between the lead and the 2nd, but
you just have to out-curl your opposite position. If you're the lead, you've got to out-curl the lead. It's one of those things to be able to keep your team in the game, and it's that positional play.
So the pressure on right now on the skip. Callie Notting, her first stone coming. 3 stones lying in the house for Team Moore. That hits and rolls and almost a little bit on the edge there, but pretty good shot nonetheless in this situation. So now Moore has one stone here in this end. What do you think where her strategy is going to go with this?
She's going to probably bump the blue one, or the alternative is she can just draw one in solidly in the 8 foot and say,
make a shot.
Make the shot.
Really haven't seen that type of strategy up to yet. Now, someone will make a shot.
Right now, what happens is yellow sitting shot.
Right.
So in other words, if you're just trying to force, then you could just put another one in solidly in the 8 foot, and say, well, fine, hit this. You can take your one. Here, what happens is if they come down and take the blue one out, and if they're sitting 1-2, it says, here you go, you got your draw, but you got no backing to get there. And if you have no backing to get there, then what happens is the nerves during one of these type of situations, you go like, oh my gosh,
right,
I'm a bit heavy, and you don't make your shot, and what happens is somebody steals another point against her.
After a lengthy discussion between her and her teammates, final shot here in this 5th end.
Yeah, so once that rock's online, then what happens is they should make sure.
Not a bad shot there.
Yeah.
Pretty nice shot by the skip, Callie Moore.
So Kaylee not going to have a draw.
So an opportunity to get one, but it has to be good.
Actually, with those rocks sitting there, is she can come down and bump that top yellow rock,
right,
and score her one, or she can draw. What happens is this is where you get into the personal feelings about
your shot making ability.
If she has confidence in terms of her draw, then she should draw.
Looks like that's what she's going to do. Here it comes, nodding with the hammer, looking to get one.
There you go, to the tee line.
Good shot there by Nodding, and they get one in that end. But if you're Team Moore, you got to be thinking that that's a great victory for us. We get the hammer in the 6. We got a 3-point lead here.
And she forced them.
Forced them
to score. So therefore got the hammer back, and it cost them one.
So we're going to step aside, folks. Stay with us. You're watching 2018 Nova Scotia Junior Provincial Curling Championships on 5 TV1. Welcome back inside Lakeshore Club in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia for the 2018 Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Curling Championships. I'm Vince Williams, and joining me, my broadcast partner, Bill Fletcher. Great matchup here between these two teams. Elimination matchup on Sheet C, where Team Notting trailing Team Moore 5-2 after the fifth end between these two teams. Some good shot making in the first 5 ends. And, now
they took advantage of the other team's errors and were able to put some points on the board. We'll see a lot more rocks in play now.
Just the start of the 6th end here, and just an update on the other matches going on. Team Jones and Team Ladouceur, after 5 ends, are all tied up at 3. Team Jones undefeated. And 5-3 is the score. I update. I'm looking online here, Bill. 23 wasn't updated online, but 5-3 on the scoreboard that we can see, and the vantage point down the other end. And their sheet is right next to ours. Close proximity here at the Lakeshore Curling Club in Lower Sackville, Nova Scotia. Thank you, folks, for joining us. for this great junior provincial championships. But Team Notting looking for some answers here in this sixth, as Team Moore has the hammer.
So you notice Notting put up a center line guard. Moore put one in the house, tried to go around it, didn't quite get buried. And then the Notting team has put up another guard, tried to draw around. They're a little light.
Different strategy from the first five ends.
Exactly. In the earlier ends, what they're doing is put it in the house and say, hit it. Now what happens is we got guards up, let's try to outdraw. But the only way to score points is to have rocks in the house. So
Kate Fitzgerald's second shot coming up. The 15-year-old has 9 years experience, the lead for Team Moore. Fitzgerald, 2017, the U18 Nationals, was fourth place in Canada. And their 18 provincial champion and junior doubles champion is Fitzgerald. First shot coming here from Alexis Chasson, second for Team Notting. This Team Notting team has been together for 5 years, Bill, and Alexis is just joining them this season. How important is, you have a new member coming in with a team that's been together for 5 years, the three of them, and then you have that second coming in for the first time this season. How important is the chemistry at the club?
Well, I've had teams that have had that experience. We've had a player that, the parents have moved, and we had to go out and take a look at getting new curlers on the team, and it's the girls on decided. And in terms of the team dynamics, is the other three want them there, so that's the reason that they're on the team. You take a look at how teams perform, and it's that consistency. But we've played against players, and all of a sudden, each other, and you know what your expectations are, and to walk in on a new team is, are you being accepted? And you go yeah. I've had those issues, and I've had issues with one of my teams that, well, I'm not sure that I really belong on the team. And it was one of those things that says you have to remember that it was the other three players on the team that decided they wanted you, and you had the opportunity to say no. But when you said yes, you go well, I guess they want me.
Yeah.
And so you build up those team dynamics. You have to remember that when these teams do a lot of spieling, and they practically live together. Right. And I know my philosophy with the teams, and I've coached quite a few of the women's teams, that you have to remember you have to be more than friends. Is you have to be sisters.
Right.
Because there's going to be things sometimes that are said in the heat of the moment that may just tick somebody else off. But you got to remember what your goals are, and you've got to be able to put those to aside. Otherwise, it just festers, and the performance of the team just goes downhill after that.
So go ahead, finish.
So by doing that, this is I've gone through teams that have types of issues,
right,
and they've recovered. And what happens is their performance out in the ice is really the things that you take a look at. Everybody is contributing to what the overall goals of the team are, and those team dynamics and those friendships that they build now will last them a lifetime.
That is so important. And Alexis Chasson joining this team. She's from Halifax, 15 years old. Goes to Halifax West High School. She's got 5 years experience, and the rest of the team is from Bridgewater. And that's the first shot there from the third, Caitlin Notting. Caitlin, 15 years old, goes to Parkview Education Center. She has 11 years of experience One less than her sister, Kaylee Notting, who's the skip of the Notting Club, who has 12 years of experience.
Well, you'll find that with most of the teams that are out here that, you know, they started curling when they were 5 and 6 years old. There's not an overabundance of the curlers that are out here that started at a later age. And I say a later age, maybe 11 or 12 years old.
Right.
Right. So many of them start off with the light rocks, and grow into actually shooting the heavier rocks, and these are the provincial rocks that they're using. So
Taylor Stevens with her first stone. Taylor, 17 years old, has 9 years experience. 2016, the U18 Atlantic, she won bronze and won multiple championships at the provincial level at the U18. She's a U18 provincial champion as well as a U15 provincial champion. So both of these clubs have a lot of championships amongst their team members. Caitlin Notting's second stone here. Team Moore with the hammer in the sixth end here. They're leading by 3. Not a bad shot there by Notting. Just on the edge of the 12-foot.
hitting up on the center line. So Callie's called and go around. Let's bury one in the house. When you take a look at these in terms of provincial championships, you go from Little Rocks to where you've got people that are or kids that are under 11. You got the under 13. You got the U15 now, and national championships at the under 8, the U18, and so and the Canada Games. So you take a look at the competitions that these kids get play in, and when you're playing against those types of curlers, is you bring your game up. And that's the reason you're seeing the level of play where it is.
Good shot there by Notting. Inside the 4-foot. Excuse me, I think that was Stevens with that shot. She's been curling well. Taylor Stevens has been curling outstanding for Team Moore. Caitlin Notting's second stone coming here in the sixth end. Hits and rolls a little bit there, so keeps it within. Great opportunity here, though, Bill, for Moore. Tack on a few more points, or at least get one.
Yeah, well, Callie's going to play to hit this and roll over towards the center. Why? Because it'll be buried behind cover. So she's hitting the rock that's sitting in the second position. Now, if she can roll over towards the 4-foot, what happens is she can get buried behind that center line guard.
Callie's first stone. He holds the hammer, hits, rolls, and that's a tremendous shot.
That's a tremendous shot.
What more can you ask for from your skip? That puts a lot of pressure on Notting now. Trying to come up with something. It's Callie Notting trailing in this elimination match. In the 5-2.
She's going to play a draw. Because if she plays the draw, if she plays it correct, then what happens is she can get to the nose of that yellow rock and be absolutely buried behind her blue one. So it all comes down to 8 and line.
Looking for more weight here. Really trying to get this to count.
I've got that at 15-7. That should be just about to the tee.
Here it comes. And just a little short. But she is with, looks like they're only lying one right now is Team Moore, but they do hold the hammer. So some very important shots coming up here in this 6N. Probably the most important then right now, looking at the positioning of those rocks, Bill.
Well, the biggest thing is you want us to hit that slightly on the inside towards the center line side of things. So they just saw Kaylee come down on that ice, and so have an idea of what's happening with that ice. But by coming down and getting to the nose of that blue one, there's going to be no path for the Notting team to be able to get in.
Great opportunity right here to take a stranglehold on this match for Team Moore. Comes, hit, and roll.
Okay.
Can't ask much more than that.
No.
Perfect execution by Callie there. And they pick up 3. So is really up against it right now. 8-2 going into the 7th end. What is the mindset now? Now we're at a distance where
this is where your mental toughness comes into play.
They really need to have all 4.
They have to have all 4
really
of them
going well. They can't afford a single mistake.
Well, they can't get down on themselves. That's the biggest thing.
Right.
Because if they start getting down on themselves, then they start to outthink themselves. And
there's some divide.
And that's it. And if they're defeated mentally, then it's really, really hard for them to come back.
And when you talk a little bit about the mental game, in other sports, they usually say 90% of it's mental, 10% is physical. In the sport of curling, how much of the percentage is accurate? Is it a little bit more?
Fatigue. Although this looks like a relatively easy game for the inexperienced person that comes out and curls for the first time, it doesn't seem like there's much stress, but they realize how much stress is on them when they can't get out of bed the next day.
Right.
Because you're using a whole new muscle group.
Absolutely.
And if you take a look at the things that they're doing, the sweeping is the cardio part of our game. But there's a lot of stress and everything on you when you're sliding out to deliver the rock.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start looking at this, take a look at the number of games that they're playing, and you take a look at the drain on the body, and you go like that physical. When that breaks down, what happens is your execution starts to break down. So it's being prepared. It's being prepared to go out and to be able to curl at a week-long event. You really see that at the adult level now, where you've got people that are almost professional curlers where they're in the gym every week.
Right.
You know,
really good shape.
And well, exactly.
Really good shape.
And so what happens is even though these people are young, it still takes its drain on the physical side of things, and as that starts to break down, then your execution breaks down. So you got to be mentally strong. You have to be physically strong. Going out and taking a look at, just in the sweeping, you get your heart rate up.
Right. So Carrie Wellman's second shot coming, the 16-year-old from Parkview Educational Center, 11 years of experience. After that shot there from Kate Fitzgerald from Team Moore, she gets it at 12 foot. Fitzgerald's been pretty steady. The lead for Team Moore. 15 years old, 9 years of experience. She's also at the Under-18 Nationals in 2017. Multiple provincial champion. First stone coming down in this seventh end by Cassidy Curry. It's knocks that stone out, so that's a good shot there by Curry. And you can see the confidence in that team more right now. I mean, they're just, the skip's laying down the line and they're just setting up and rolling the rocks down the ice. It's no indecision. They don't need to discuss more. They're not taking the time to think things over. They're just doing what they do best.
Well, their game right now is a little bit easier than it is for the Notting team. From the call that was originally made, this was probably considered a miss.
Right.
But what happens is what I like about it, it still improved their situation. And so as a result, if the Moore team's going to come down and try to peel that off, if they don't hit it right, then what happens is we got jam possibilities all over the place.
Right. So Cass takes that one out.
So where the Moore team's got a yellow rock and behind, now is the time to come down and draw in to try to freeze to it. So what you find is when you're points is you've got to use everything that's to your advantage.
Mm-hmm.
In this case is draw one down, draw one around one of the top rocks, and give yourself those jam possibilities that are back there.
Jason's throw now. And that'll draw close to the tee line. It's not a bad shot. That's really close to the button. Really cannot afford to give up any points in this end as Team Notting. They have to find a way to get a blank sheet. Team Moore holding the hammer and leading by 7. 6, excuse me. 8-2.
So one of the things they're going through right now, taking a look at the exit path. If they hit the blue rock, how is it going to come out?
Right.
If they hit it on the center line side, what happens is the blue rock goes out on the side and the shooter goes out. If they come down and hit it on the other side, then what? Even at the close center line, then what happens is it could go back and jam, or it could take some of the rocks out at the back, so they're no longer going to be catchers. Callie doesn't want rocks in play.
Stevens, another good shot there, her first stone.
Okay, see what a change it was in that end, in that we got rid of those rocks that were at the back.
Right.
Because they're no longer going to be catchers there for you. You run into, as Trendle used to say to me, the peanut butter and jam.
Okay.
Here's the jam abilities, right?
Okay, so you need more peanut butter is what you're trying to say.
Exactly.
Taylor Stevens, 17 years old, 9 years of experience, the third. She's won a bronze medal at the U18 Atlantics. It's been pretty solid.
This is Caitlin Nodding's rock coming.
Yeah, nodding, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about Stevens and her outstanding play. I think she's been very good in that third position.
In her own right.
And there's nodding there. Sister, Caitlin is, of Kaylee. She sticks that close to the button. Stevens now with her second coming up. I think that's where the separation was between these two teams in that third position.
Taylor's been a good shooter for quite a while, though. I've watched her come up through the ranks.
And she hits. And just inside the 8-foot there, so not a bad shot. I mean, at this point, they could go all the way through until Team Notting concedes here. Pretty much, as long as they can keep those blue rocks out of the house, they're just basically shot for shot. They can just trade shot for shot the rest of the way as Team Moore and move on in these provincial championships.
See, this is the situation that they're looking at, is they could run the yellow one back and double out the yellows and maybe sit two.
How hard is that at this point in the game, knowing that every shot has to count?
The shooter, well, if they hit that top yellow rock, the shooter will roll over into the rings. So it's just a matter of where that yellow rock that they hit, what does it hit in the back? The angle's there that allow it to go back, and blue sitting too at the end of this. But it all depends on how much time you spend in the pool hall.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. How much time you have to practice this shot?
Yeah, understanding the round objects hitting a round object.
Lots of discussion right now between the two sisters, Caitlin and Kaylee. Caitlin seems to have one idea, and the skip Kaylee has another. So, after the lengthy discussion, here it comes. Can't stick. So now, Taylor Stevens with an opportunity here. To get her club a couple more points on the board, or in position for her skip. 10-1. This is actually the skip. This is more. Good shot there.
Yeah.
So that's not a factor anymore. Now you can see the sisters are really having this conversation. And they don't look like they're on the same page right now in agreeing where they should go in the direction.
That's one of the things they have to look at, is if for us to score our deuce, the only rock that we've got to go around is that yellow one, right? So how do we take advantage of that? So I think they're on the same page book and the same page of the playbook. It's just a matter of putting down the boom in the right place. Yeah.
They both want the same result.
Well, exactly. They're playing for their dues.
Pressure situation though for Kaylee Notting, the skip.
Because if they're willing to blank this end, they could have come up and just hit the yellow one. So what happens is we have an opportunity. There is an advantage that if I can draw this around and try to force Callie Moore to come down and either tap them out or take them out, and then they can decide on the last rock what they want to do.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think that fooled them because the sweepers weren't on them at all.
Right. Well, the door is really wide open right now for Callie Moore. Why not high five at this time?
That's just the confirmation that they're all on the same wavelength, and here, this is what we need to do.
Pretty much universal in sports amongst teammates. You get that high five. That's definitely a confirmation of things that are going well.
So one of the things you get into is because there's so few players on the team. It's not an individual sport, but it's that team sport, and it takes 4 people to make the shot.
Absolutely.
You got the shooter, has got to get it started. Sweepers are responsible for the weight, and the skip in the house is responsible for the line. That one's light too.
Absolutely. So these type of shots, these guard shots, we were looking forward to maybe for the leads. We didn't see that, but now we're seeing it late in this.
I didn't put a watch on that to sort of check what the time was.
So with that stone being late, say there's be a slight opportunity here for Team Notting. What can they do to salvage this end?
I don't think they're going to have an opportunity to score 2, so they have to choose. They could run it back and try to blank, or they could draw in to take the 1.
Right.
But even taking 1, then it becomes 8-3.
Right.
And you're giving up the hammer. Usually the hammer is worth 1, so if they're going to gamble, they might want to gamble on just blanking. Close.
Yes.
It was close.
And a steal of 1.
More teams going to have to keep the pressure on because you know the Notting team has the capabilities of putting up some big scores as long as they don't get down on themselves.
Well, they need to regroup quickly because ends are starting to run out on them, and they need to find some answers.
8, 9, and 10.
Lots of curling left.
Yep.
Lengthy pep talk between Team Notting. High fives, as you can see, in the edge of the left hand of the screen. Lots of smiles, still some optimism.
Well, yeah.
As you like to see.
You always do. You always like to see them have that scrum right after the end. But what we want to do.
So 9-2. More leads. What do you make of that shot?
Oh, they threw it through. They don't want anything in play. So what happens is they just had a throw through. that communication side of the game is having that scrum right after the end, just so that everybody confirms about this is what we're going to do in the next end.
Right.
It's just so important for the teams. And the other thing is they're on the time clocks, but the time clocks won't start until they're finished and they're ready to go. There's a time that they have to be able to put the rocks away, and both teams go out and have a quick scrum. It's not a long time, and so they don't start the time clocks for that.
Just enough time to regroup and talk about some game management.
Yeah, and right, and so because the time clocks are all on thinking time, and so as a result, there's some allowances in there for the putting of the rocks away, and setting up, and everybody set and ready to go. The time clocks are not set to try to punish a team. They're there to try to keep things flowing on a regular basis. Historically, what happened is when they used time, in other words, the length of time it took a rock to travel down the ice, if a team was playing a draw game, it was like 23 and 24 seconds that you would use, where a team that was hitting was playing in 9 seconds. And it really punished the teams that were playing a quiet game. Now what happens is with this thinking time, you don't have to worry about whether you're playing a hit or whether you're playing a draw. It's all in the strategy, and training about how to think about what shots you need to go. It's a real mental game. And sometimes it's tough on skips because they're constantly thinking about what we need to do, and then they also have to think about their own shots.
Right. Wellman's second shot here. Looking for more weight here. And a little short. Well, not the result that Skip Nodding, Kaylee Nodding was looking for. Here's the first for Cassidy Curry, the second for a team more. Hits and rolls through. Not a bad shot there.
Oh. So for the Notting team, they'll continue to play around the draws.
Right.
They've got a corner guard that's up there in the yellow, so what happens is you go around it to try to use that to your advantage.
Alexis Chason, they're here in this 8th end, trailing 9-2. Team Notting does have the hammer. Looking for some answers here. Is the ladies throwing the blue stones. Curry, second stone coming. Hits and rolls. Another good shot there by Curry.
Yeah, the Moore team will just continue to hit. They just don't want rocks in play.
They really don't care what.
No.
What strategy is just to defend.
The defending of the lead.
Chason, second coming. Barring a total meltdown, the way this match has been going, I mean, what has to happen in turning the tide? Because right now, Moore is definitely in the driver's seat.
You know, something is, when you get out there, all you need sometimes is just one miss, and the roof falls in on you. And so as a result is you got a team that can put up a big score, and they got one big end, and all of a sudden that's it. It's done.
Absolutely. These two teams in their first match, Notting did put up 11 compared to Moore's 9. So it is quite possible.
Okay, so now they got a rock that's out there in front, and then close to the center line. So you go around it.
So a quick synopsis on how these two teams got here. Team nodding.
See, I really like this call. Because you can go from the center line to go around, but what happens is you go on the outside to go around, and the exit path of this rock is going to be through the yellow rock that's at the back. So they had a choice of which way to go to curl in. This was the better way to come.
This is Caitlin Nodding's first stone in this 8th end. It's around the guard. Here it comes. Trying to stay in there. Edges just a little bit heavy, not enough curl.
Heavy.
Had the right idea, just didn't get the right result. So Taylor Stevens. Here it comes. Hit. And that might be considered a little bit of a miss.
No, they were trying to peel out the guard. Cali doesn't want any rocks in play. By having that guard out there in play, allowed the nodding team to draw around behind it.
Even if it's their own guards.
Even if it's their own.
So the chess match definitely continues here.
Oh, definitely.
So with every shot, Nodding has to come up with a game plan on what direction they need to go. Because right now, you can see Moore is definitely keeping her off balance in regards to what she's trying to accomplish.
Well,
the first few ends, she was being very aggressive and forced them to make shots.
See, they're getting into discussions now about what's happening because there's a rock. Both rocks are back behind the tee line. And if the team comes down and takes the yellow rock out, then what happens is that the two blue rocks will be really close to each other, and it makes it a lot easier to double them out. Right? And if your object is to score points, you don't want to set up the easy double. By coming down and drawing in and freezing to the yellow, it gives them more opportunities to be scoring multiple points.
And here comes Nodding second. Hits, a little bit of a roll, but sticks it inside there in the foot. Just a little bit better position in the yellow.
So now what happens is a nose hit on the blue, doubles those out.
Probably looking for that to roll a little bit to the left of the screen there, just in front of the yellow stones. Caitlin nodding for that result. So an opportunity here for more. A skip on her team. First stone coming down. Hits, but it sticks, stays in. Couldn't get them both out in that shot. But at this point,
she was a touch wide. She come out and it just stayed right there.
You see her calling for more weight there. Do you think it was because of the result of the speed, or that it maybe curled in a different angle and hit?
Well, right now they're looking at playing back to the yellow, and they don't need to. is if their object is to score 2, what happens is even up in the top 8 will allow them to do that.
Right.
Because they're sitting shot rock now. So it looks like they've moved to that situation that they're going to draw in and draw into the rings and get second shot out of it, or first shot. So this is an opportunity for the Notting team to be able to score 2.
They really need to take advantage right now.
And they really need to take advantage of it.
Holding the hammer in this 8th end, trailing by 7. Kaylee Notting. She is really looking for it to curl. This looks like a very light. So what do you make of that shot?
They've had some issues with the weight.
So with that shot,
Callie's not going to be light.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Now, I mean, would that be considered a miss?
Yes,
absolutely.
Very much so.
So another opportunity for a team that's already up by a huge margin, 7 points. Let's get to really make it difficult.
It's always that measure, and does it improve your situation? And that, you can get away from your shooting percentages, and there are some times when you look at shooting percentages, sometimes it's just the wrong call or it's the wrong ice,
right,
and you do your best, and therefore you don't get the shot that gets called. But I look at things as, does it improve your position? And as long as it improves your position, then I have no problems with that.
Right.
So if the Notting Rock had been in the top 8, where they sat 1-2,
right,
even if you called it back onto the rocks that were at the back, then it's still improving their scoring opportunities. Here what happens now is they've got this draw, they've got backing, so they shouldn't be light. So they know what the ice is. I mean, this is the 8th end, but they've got backing, so they should not be light on this. But then you don't want to throw it too hard, so you get a hit and roll out. Deal.
And here it comes.
All right. Sweepers like it.
Still coming. Looks like a good one. And sticks that right close to the button.
Yep.
So a good shot there by Kaylee Notting. Gets the 1 in the 8th. How important is that 1 point?
Well, remember earlier we talked about
this points.
Yeah, what's your strength? And obviously she had absolute confidence in her draw ability, right, which really surprised us on her first rock when all of a sudden it was so light, right? There she comes out and puts it right on the tee.
The ability to regroup on the fly, very important,
yep,
in this scenario. So both teams taking time in between ends, and it looks like they have conceded.
That they have.
And that'll do it. Make the final 9-3. Kaylee Moore defeats Team Notting as things got undone in the middle ends. Some good shot making abilities from the third and the skip of Kaylee Moore, and in particular Taylor Stevens was the difference in this match.
It was that execution when you start at the back end is really what happened, and it's in terms of that game when they when they come up light on some of those draws, it's just so important. It's just so much pressure on you when you're on the back end. The that when you're shooting mates rocks, you've only got the skip to back you up, and if you don't make your shots as the skip, you've just got your coach to back you up, and they're not out on the ice.
So that'll do it here in this end. After 9, after conceding, Kaylee Notting concedes to Callie Moore, and that's a final as Moore will move on. And Notting, unfortunately, their provincials is over. So for Bill Fletcher, I'm Vince Williams, and the rest of the 5TV1 crew, stay with us. We have more of the AMJ Campbell 18 Nova Scotia Provincial Junior Championships.